You with me, Amutha Kan, Healing Frequencies podcast. This is where we talk about travel, have fun, and divert our mind from daily dramas and eventually heal a chronic condition with the help of God. Of course, God, because sometimes it's so challenging to change our thoughts, change our emotions, change our language, and of course, change our actions. And not only that, when we submit to somebody like God, we become humble and we surrender and we reach a state of peace. Peace is nothing but, in scientific terms, equilibrium, not the peace of no war or whatever the outside dramas. There's always going to be problems around us, war, but what's important is to maintain the peace within, which is an equilibrium or a homeostatic state. So your body is in a position to alleviate all of the stress hormone and produce the healing hormones so that your body can start to heal conditions, majority of the chronic conditions. And today is all about anxiety. And before we go into the neuroscience of it, the first hour of our podcast is your regular dose of diversional therapy, where we journey to the most fascinating corners of Australia and, of course, in the future, world, wherever I traveled. Diverting your mind from the daily dramas of life is important to healing your chronic conditions. And in our second hour, we delve into the pure healing of one specific chronic condition. Guess what? We are going to talk about anxiety. Neuroscience of self-healing when in relation to anxiety with the help of God. Of course, you heard that right. This is the show where science meets spirituality. I would like to give you a statistics about 301 to 359 million people live with an anxiety disorder at any given time. Roughly about 4 to 4.4% of the global population. Can you imagine? And I myself suffered from severe anxiety probably from the age of 20 up until 34. I was so scared of public speaking. I couldn't speak in front of the people. I couldn't even get in front of my classroom. I failed subject because it's not just anxiety. It was in my physiology. My heart would race so fast. I thought I'm going to die. And what's most important, I thought it was happening only to me. But there are various reasons why we feel anxious. For a lot of us, it can be something like this, debilitating, like public speaking, and that then influenced my work, my leadership, career pathways. I didn't even apply for a few jobs simply because that I needed to speak in public. My first ever job offer that I got was to work as a trainee teacher at a university. This was back in Sri Lanka in my microbiology field. I said, no way I'm going to be teaching. But interestingly enough, this is my part now. All I do is teaching. I love teaching. So you never know. The thing that you most fear is maybe the one that you've been destined to pursue in your life. And we could feel anxious, probably work-related or health in itself. You've probably been diagnosed with some kind of health condition, and it can give uncertainty and fear of our future, and that snowballs into long-term anxiety. And some of us feel financial burden. So this is again, majority of the people in this day and age feel anxious because how are they going to pay the bill, what are the financial status, what's going to happen tomorrow. So these are all real anxiety that flows down into our physiology, and eventually, even though we talk about anxiety as a condition, but anxiety is also a catalyst for major other chronic health conditions. What anxiety is that we fear or worry about something potentially happen negatively in the future. So that's what is anxiety. It's right opposite of depression. What depression is that we worry about the past, or feeling guilty about the past, or angry with some negative things happen in our life, frustration, whatever, that negative baggage that we carry create depression. Anxiety, on the other hand, we are expecting something bad's going to happen in the future. For instance, like I'm expecting that I'm going to die if I speak in public. So these are all real life experiences. What is the diversional therapy? I'm going to take you to a brand new island called Murray Island. This is the farthest most end of eastern side of the Torres Strait. Murray Island is also called Mer in the native language, M-E-R. I had the opportunity and privilege to work in this pristine $1 million island. I think this is one of the best islands that I have worked. Not ordinary people get to go there. People like me or whoever works can get to go. It's about approximately 800 kilometers from Horn Island or from Thursday Island. Again, small plane ride. This island has a very unique geography. It's a volcanic island, and I'm not going to spill the beans because I got so many interesting adventures. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to 2NVR 105.9 FM right here from the mid-north coast of New South Wales, Australia. We are talking about the health conditions anxiety, and the adventure travel we are taking today is to the Murray Island from the Torres Strait of Queensland, Australia. My friend told me she has zero anxiety about growing old. I asked her the secret. She said, I simply stopped buying green bananas. I know. It is funny, right? Sometimes joke has to be like that because laughter is one of the greatest medicines. So let's go to Murray Island. As you land on that small plane, you can see this green, very unique mountain. Murray Island is so unique and different from rest of the 16 Torres Strait Islands because of the volcanic activities for thousands and thousands of years. And on this island, Torres Strait Islander people's been living for the past 3,000 years. And one of the other uniqueness of this island is on Murray is Australia, where it gets its first sunrise. First sunrise starts on Murray Island. And as I was flying into Murray Island, you can just see the adjoining island and the rock formation. You're just literally amazed. You feel like you are floating in a heaven or something like that. But then as I was looking down, I see along the shoreline there was a black belt in sea, but the shoreline of the black belt, and I was so curious, what is this black belt? And I needed to go and find out. Anyhow, arrived on Murray Island and then been taken by the locals, amazing people. You feel so welcomed. Got introduced to the elders, the cultures, and what actually happens. Anyway, got into the house and got the orientation for the clinic and so forth. And there was another nurse, CNC, clinical nurse consultant, and myself. We were like, at a time you get to work sometimes or overlap work with another CNC for a few days at least, up until you get used to the clinical settings and so forth. And that's Sandy. Actually, she worked quite often on Murray Island. And she said, okay, tomorrow morning, 4:30 in the morning, I go swimming in the ocean. Would you like to come? I said, 4:30 in the morning, okay. But the day before, the day of my arrival, just across the accommodation or the clinic, they're all adjacent to each other, is the ocean. So I wanted to see what is this big, the black belt running. So I took a little walk and I saw there's sardines from top on the air. You see like a black belt. The sharks eat sardines. You probably know about this. And there are hundreds and hundreds of sharks. I'm thinking like, what is going on? They're massive sharks, like very closer to the ocean, like you could just touch those sharks. And I was just new. I didn't know what's going on here. And I can see kids are playing. Then I went and asked the local what's happening. They said, yeah, this is kind of like a shark island. You will get to see a lot more. So I saw that one the day before, and Sandy was asking me, okay, 4:30 in the morning, you can't even see. One thing that I'm not a good swimmer. I can only float. I can't even swim. And then do I have to now dodge all these sharks and then you swim? And then she's talking about, oh, you get to see the sunrise and all these stuff. I said, nope. But somehow she convinced me. Probably a week later, I did go, and that story is coming. Before that, it really intrigued me about the uniqueness of this island and how fearless of the islander people. They're also saltwater people. Are of these sharks. And I was watching once, a mom was fishing a 6-month-old baby just sitting in the water just next to her, and then sharks all over the place. Sharks. So okay, what's going on? And I wanted to dig deep into that. It's all kind of sharks. Hammerhead, tiger sharks they don't come to the shore. They're usually a little bit deeper, but you get all different 10 different kinds of sharks. You get to see them. They're all massive, really, really big. How come that they do not have the fear? Because for me, or anybody going and looking at all these sharks, that it could naturally create anxiety in us. Our major topic today is anxiety. And let's see how the locals do not have that fear of the sharks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Healing Frequencies radio podcast. You are with me, Amutha. We are diverting our mind all the way to Murray Island, the farthest eastern island of Torres Strait. It's about 800 kilometers from Thursday Island. Before we go ahead and find out all about these sharks, there is a significance about Murray Island is Eddie Mabo. As an Australians, we must know this story. Its cultural significance for Torres Strait Islander people. Once you arrive there, Uncle Andy will take you around on his car to show the island. The first place he took me to Eddie Mabo's memorial stone. Murray Island gave this nation one of its greatest sons. That's Elder Eddie Mabo. Eddie Kioki Mabo was born on Mer, which is Murray Island, in the village of Las, Las, in 1936. He grew up on this island on this red volcanic soil. This was their home forever, believing with every fiber of his being that this land belonged to his people, because that's their home, and that they had lived there. They had grew vegetables, fish, and I saw these very interesting places. That's like hundreds of years ago, how they caught fish. They will build like raised barriers, and when the tide comes up, the fish will get in there, the fish will get caught, and then they will share that with the rest of the island people. It's very interesting. Sometimes they say, oh, this trap might get more fish when somebody else does no fish, so we will share it with each other. So that's how they lived. They fished for thousands of years. And then one day, far from home, working as a gardener at a university in Townsville, this is Eddie Mabo. He was working as a gardener at a local university in Townsville. Two historians sat him down and told him something that stopped him cold. In the eyes of the law, they said, you do not own that land. It belongs to the crown. And Eddie looked at them and said, no way, it is not theirs. It is ours. Imagine that you've been, your grandparents' land, and they've been farming there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and then somebody come and say, this is not your land. How would you feel? That moment lit a fire that would burn for 10 long years. He took his claim all the way to the High Court, a humble island man standing against the whole weight of the system, saying, my people were here first, and this land belongs to us. It's a very tiny island. So it's only a little bit of land there, and I don't understand how can people be living there for 3,000 years and say that, come on, this is not yours. Anyhow, and the law must recognize it. So he fought it for years and years and years. Here is the heartbreak. On the 21st of January 1992, Eddie Mabo died of cancer at just 55 years old. 5 months later, only 5 months, the High Court handed down its decision. They ruled in his favor. Unfortunately, after he passed, they overturned the lie that this land had belonged to no one. They recognized for the first time in this nation's history that the Mariam people had owned their land all along, all of the Torres Strait Islands. Those islands are their home. He never lived to hear the words, but his legacy lives. Everybody talks about him. That's the highlight of Murray Island, even though I thought it was Shark up until then. 3 years after he was buried in Townsville, his headstone was defaced and vandalized, and his family made a decision. They brought him home. An aircraft carried his body back to Mer, back to the island that made him, and the people did something they had not done in 8 years. They performed the ancient ceremony for the burial of Mariam King, because that is that he was to them a king. They looked at him as a king. He was a savior for his people. Now, Murray Island is owned by the native people, Torres Strait Islander people who live on Murray Island. So I had the privilege and the opportunity to listen to all these stories by one of their elders and about Eddie Mabo. You with me, Amutha Kan, Healing Frequencies podcast. This is where we talk about travel, have fun, and divert our mind from daily dramas and eventually heal a chronic condition with the help of God. Of course, God, because sometimes it's so challenging to change our thoughts, change our emotions, change our language, and of course, change our actions. And not only that, when we submit to somebody like God, we become humble and we surrender and we reach a state of peace. Peace is nothing but, in scientific terms, equilibrium, not the peace of no war or whatever the outside dramas. There's always going to be problems around us, war, but what's important is to maintain the peace within, which is an equilibrium or a homeostatic state. So your body is in a position to alleviate all of the stress hormone and produce the healing hormones so that your body can start to heal conditions, majority of the chronic conditions. And today is all about anxiety. And before we go into the neuroscience of it, let's continue the Murray Island story, which is the farthest of the east coast of Torres Strait in our Queensland, Australia. Let me take you off Murray Island for a moment, because just to the southwest of Murray Island, there are two tiny little sister islands called Dover and Ware. These two small uninhabited islands are close enough to reach by boat. You can just see. But interestingly enough, Auntie Sainty told me that one of the island used to be inhabited. People used to live there. But because of the water challenges, they couldn't get the drinking water after a period of time. Those people who lived on that island moved into Murray. These two islands are part of the same volcanic family. The structure, the rock formation are so unique compared to any other islands on Torres Strait. And these, you can see these islands are like rising out of the same turquoise water, and especially when you're flying, looking down from this small plane, you feel like, oh my god, I'm thinking half of the way my camera isn't working, or I didn't press the button or something, but I did capture the beauty of it, picture perfect. And anyhow, I got an opportunity to go into one of these islands. I believe that was Dar, with a local lady and another person. We three of us, I believe, went into the island for a sunset. It's just about 5 minutes boat ride. I don't know how to explain. It was like traveling to the very edge of the world where no one lives, and the only footprints in the sand are the ones the sea has not yet washed away. The sand is like flowers. It's so soft. The sand is white sand. You can see the turtles. And when we came ashore, there they were, the turtle nestling grounds all along the sand. You could see the burrows, the deep hollows the mother turtle dig, hauling themselves up out of the sea in the dark of night to lay their eggs above the tide line, then covering them over the slipping back into the water before dawn. These waters are ancient turtle country, and the locals, they really make sure they protect these turtles. The green turtles have been coming to these islands to nest for longer than anyone can remember. Generation after generation, following something written deep inside them. See, these animals' instinct, a knowing that brings them back to the very same sand where their own lives began. And I'm thinking, how come they look so calm despite all these aggressive waves? And because they got these animal instincts, I wish that we human do have that. If we did have that, we will not feel the anxiety of, okay, how am I going to pay my bill next week? Or what is going to happen to my health condition? So which is actually creating anxiety. And I stood on that beach looking at those burrows and I thought, what trust is. The mother turtle lays her eggs and slips away. She does not stand guarding, okay, what is going to happen? They trust the process that they're born into. And every one of these little hatchings, when they break out of the sand, will make their way to the sea by an instinct. Sometimes they lose their offsprings, and majority of them in these places, like they survive because there are no threats, no danger for them. And sometimes, of course, the nature itself, they get eaten by other predators like birds and so forth. Anyhow, so that was such an adventure, that unforgettable, going to the neighboring two sister island of Murray Island. Every time after work, the clinic is like any other islands. We started 8 o'clock and then we finish 4:30, 5 o'clock. There is nothing else to do other than going to the shore and take a walk. So as I walk, like you could walk from this end of the island to the other end of the island, looking at all these belt of sardine, and the sharks are coming and nibbling. And as I was walking, and I saw a bunch of kids playing, I can see like a lot of noise. I thought, oh, what's happening? And as I walked closer, I was thinking, oh my God, what is this all the commotion in the water? I literally counted massive 12 sharks were playing with kids. They also put the cut fish, and they also come to eat those fish and play with the kids. These sharks, sometimes they will put their belly on the sand. They're still in the water, but in so shallow, the kids will drag their tail and then play with them. They look like dogs. Oh my God, they just come here to play with the kids. And I was so scared. But then when kids are there, I'm not scared, because, kids are usually fearless, so that animal don't get threatened. And I just, go with them. And then I just wanted to touch the shark. I didn't drag, but I was there. Local gave me the fish, cut scraps of the fish. I gave it to them. They're 4 or 5 times larger than me. Those sharks are massive, but they're so gentle creatures. When you get to know them, I forgot the name of these sharks. I think one of them, lemon shark. There are so many different sharks there. These kids just dragging from the tail. I'm thinking, are you sure? They're going to eat you, man. They're just so tiny. The sharks are so massive, and they're pulling the tails of these sharks, and they don't care, because they grew up in that. They did not know any difference. That's how they do not have the fear. And I ask, because you guys are intertwined with this water, and have anybody ever get attacked by shark? Never. They go hunting and gathering everything in the water. Their livelihood is in the water, and never once, because they do not have the fear. They do not have the anxiety. They say that in the mainland, of course, like tiger sharks and the hammerhead can be dangerous, but then humans are not their food. They probably hate our meat. Maybe we are bitter. They will spit it out if they eat. They only survive small fish. They eat small fish. They don't like to eat us. But if I go and if I'm scared, because the fear can be transmittable. This is a big subject. Again, if I'm fearful, the person next to me can feel that. So the animals are all the same. They feel our fear and they feel threatened by us, and that's when they attack. So while the Islander people never get attacks, they do not have the fear. They trust, they know their knowledge, they listen to their elders, and they know the season, they know areas to avoid and how to handle them. Even when I talked about these two kids went diving for crayfish and they come across tiger sharks all the time in our previous shows, and what they're supposed to do if and when they see a tiger sharks. And that was, and also I did go swimming with Sandy early in the morning. Like, I wasn't swimming at all. I'm only looking at sharks coming behind me. And I do have videos, like 3 sharks rotating me. And I gave the camera, okay, I needed to take this one. It's unforgettable. They just coming to me, close to me. 3 massive sharks. I still got this video. And then the fear just dissipates because you see that everybody's in the water, and the sharks are just part of their life, and you become one of them when you are in this situation. So going back to our anxiety, healing of anxiety story, it's very important to understand why are we feeling anxious and what are the triggers. And of course, there are clinical informations that you may have known or you would have heard from your doctor or clinical expertise. But that is not what we are here for. We are here to tap into your own self-healing because you are powerful. You can heal from any kind of chronic conditions, and anxiety is no exception. And once you heal, you feel such a freedom. You feel like you're unstoppable. So that story and that healing journey, neuroscience, and of course the spirituality coming, we are looking at one of the common chronic condition today is anxiety. Majority of the people in this day and age are facing anxiety about the war, anxiety about the fuel price, anxiety about how am I going to pay my bill next week, what's going to happen to my children, my child is going off track, anxiety about the work. For a lot of people are anxious about going to work in this day and age, unfortunately. Like in America, if you see, like in New York, people are so anxious they could lose their job anytime. Anxiety about the health condition itself, relationship issues. You could be fearful about something that had happened in the past, and then now it's in our memory. We are expecting a same bad thing is going to happen, and therefore we go into a state of anxious. So I'm going to tell you the neuroscience behind how we create anxiety. It's very important to know that we create only and only then. You have the power to heal completely from within. If we think it's because of that and that and that, then we feel powerless. So we need to know that we are the creator, so we can heal with our creator, which is your God. Doesn't matter, whichever the God, it's not about religion. We're using God and prayers as one of the greatest tools. And also I'm trying to get some Bible stories in here. I'm not religious, or I got so many different religions in my blood, but find out which one can actually help you rewire your thought patterns and change your emotions and the language. And then I will bring in these spiritual tools that can help us heal from chronic conditions. Anxiety is actually, it's triggering the alarm center. Deep in your brain is a small almond-shaped alarm center called the amygdala. Its only job is to keep you safe, to fire when there is a danger. Remember, whether we like it or not, we used to live in the bush. I don't know, a few thousands years ago, maybe 5,000 of years ago. Our ancestors were cavemen, and they live in the bush. So our brain is designed to function as though we are living in the bush, but it cannot differentiate whether we are living in the bush or we are within walls. Fortunately or unfortunately, we are living within walls. However, our brain reacts and responds to situation as though we are facing a tiger. Remember the tiger story that we often talk about. In anxiety, that alarm center, which is the amygdala, becomes overactive, firing when there is no real threat. It is actually perceived because anxiety is something that we are fearful about. It's going to happen, something bad is going to happen in the future. It seems a tiger in every shadow. Researchers using brain imaging have shown that anxiety engages heightened activity in the amygdala and changes the way it couples with the front of the brain, which is called the prefrontal cortex, which is meant to calm it down. When the alarm goes off, the calming center cannot keep up. Your body floods with cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Your heart races, your chest tightens, you do shallow breathing. That is anxiety, and it is physical, right? It's nothing wrong with that because we meant to feel it's there to protect us. And when we think about, the ancient wisdom, the scriptures, the Bible or Bhagavad Gita or any other religions for that matter, all these religions are created to help with their own mental health of their followers. Those people thousands of years ago knew what actually happened. So Proverbs tell us anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. And then in this amygdala and then the vagus nerve, which is also connected. So what actually happening? Say for instance, I am fearful about public speaking because I had experienced a negative event years ago, which was real. I was so nervous, my voice was quivering, my hand was shaking, and my knees were buckling. These were all real physiological problems. So the first few experiences were real. But then what happens, because I had gone through these negative physiological responses, my brain interprets that this was a real threat. Okay, it thinks that there's a tiger, so it's reacting. Then I sat down at school while doing a public speaking, and then never stood up again because I thought it was going to happen again. So the following instances are perceived, they were not actually happened. So say for instance, now you're going to the doctor and the doctor says that now you are having type 2 diabetes. You need to go. Of course, we talked about how to heal from type 2 diabetic naturally. If you do want to know this information, so all these recordings are on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and look up Amutha Kan. At YouTube, you will find all these videos for specific conditions, how to heal them. And let's relate to this scenario. If you go to the doctor and you got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and the doctor says that now okay, take the medication, do this. And if you don't balance your sugar or bring your sugar down to the normal level, then there are consequences. You might have a kidney failure, you might have your eyes problem, your vascular issues, you might have stroke. All these things are again becomes threats. So what we call it as tiger. So we create more fear in our mind. So it's kind of like a snowball effect. So these are actually real physiological problems, and that creates an anxiety. What if I have a kidney failure? I'm a kidney specialist. I'm a dialysis nurse, been working as a dialysis nurse since 2007. How many years? Oh, that's quite a long time. I still work in Nambaka dialysis unit. We should talk about how to heal your kidney naturally, probably in our future sessions. So make sure that you always stay tuned. So that creates real anxiety for somebody, or for instance, allergy. Allergy is something we are actually doing it in our next podcast. Stay tuned for that, because I myself have experienced few allergies even recently, completely healed them. I coach a lot of clients completely healed from food allergies with the neuroscience, of course, with self-heal sequence. We're thinking about this. I'll tell you an interesting story. I was working in RPA Hospital, Royal Prince Alfred Hospital dialysis unit. This was back in 2013 or 14, something like that. So it's a massive dialysis unit. They used to have 36 dialysis machines, so busy, so many nurses. You get to care for 5, sometimes 6 dialysis patients at a time. A lot of nurses, beautiful patients. I was there really doing a 3 months short contract during a Christmas fair, and one of the patients brought mangoes for all of the staff. Like, I think they brought like a few trays of mango. So many staff there. Christmas and mango here in Australia. So anyhow, so every nurses had a mango, so they were eating, and one of these nurses, his dialysis nurse, he was sitting there in the staff kitchen. He was watching all the nurses eating mangoes, and somebody asked him, how about a mango? He said, if I think about the mango, I get allergic reaction. He was, of course, have some allergic reactions, and thinking about the mango, he is creating allergic reactions, is an absolute evidence that the body is creating just by thinking. See how powerful is what we think, and what we think creates our feelings, and the negative feelings associated with those negative feelings create the condition. For him, it was allergy. He was having allergic reaction just by thinking about it. So he didn't even touch the mango or eat the mango just by thinking. So this actually science now proves. So this is called the perceived condition, so perceived threat. You're thinking about it and you have physiological reactions in your body. So for him, that anything that he is allergic to is creating anxiety in his body. So that's another scenario. And let's talk about financial problem, because a lot of us experience and continue to experience anxiety over bills, because that's the survival. A lot of people around the world feel that. Some people don't even have money to get their food. How are they going to feed their children? They create different kind of anxiety. Different triggers, but the anxiety end of the day is the same reaction. What is going to do? The brain is interpreting there is a threat, but the threat is not a tiger, but they're worrying about how they're going to feed the child. Or I'm not able to complete my work, or I'm really struggling with my project, or for teenagers or young adult, how I'm going to complete this assignment at school. It can be, or a family issues and an argument. The first argument can be real, but the second, fourth, and the consecutive can be perceived because the first few comes a memory. It actually gets rewritten in your DNA, but then the following ones become perceived, and that creates the actual physiological responses such as increased heart rate, shallow breathing, palpitations, and anything that associated with anxiety. It can be really crippling because anxiety drains our energy, because I myself suffered this for a long time, and I completely got rid of it. But every now and again, if I feel, I know how to bounce back so quickly because I now do have tools. So before we go ahead and see actual research, scientific researches, and find some tools. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Healing Frequencies here with me, Amutha Kan. We are talking about how to heal anxiety from within using your own body's innate intelligence with neuroscientifically proven tools and with the help of God. Of course, let's look at the science first, shall we? A randomized control trial took 60 retired school teachers who had been diagnosed with anxiety during the pandemic, the COVID, and gave them gentle vagus nerve stimulation 4 sessions a week. The result, significantly greater reductions in their anxiety scores and measurably lower cortisol in their saliva compared to the control group, which is control group means like they haven't done anything, no intervention. Your own breath, slow and deep, stimulates that same nerve. And neuroimaging studies show that mindful attention to the breath calms the amygdala and strengthens its connection to the prefrontal cortex. So the self-heal sequence, and I'm thinking you probably need, if you ever need my book, which is Self-Heal Sequence, you can text me, find me on Facebook and send me a DM Self-Heal Sequence. I will send you the ebook for you. It's got not just the 5 major self-heal sequence, but then you have so many different diversional therapies, your creativity, forgiveness, gratitude, so many different tools that are sub-tools to our major 5 self-heal sequence. And this is where my signature method is quite handy, because you will not forget it every time you feel anxious. Oh, yeah, okay, what are the 5? What am I thinking now? So number 1 in our self-heal sequence is, number 1 is think, because our thought create emotion. What am I thinking? Am I thinking this is going to happen, or it's already happening? I'm thinking an interesting book. You probably heard about Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Grab a hold of this book. It's amazing. It's the audio version should be on YouTube. Power of Now. He also written a few other books, and another one is New Earth. The Power of Now is very popular. Pay attention, and being conscious is very, very important, because we are not conscious. We just get up, okay, get ready for work, and then we are just on autopilot, and our mind, your mind is taking control over your life. It's just running. Your life is running on autopilot. That's when we are anxious. Just get ready, hurry, eat the food, get in the car, and then rush. Oh gosh, I'm thinking now, I used to get so anxious if I'm running late to work. And then when we are in anxious state, our emotions are in negative. When they are in negative state of mind, we also attract problems. This is called a universal law, or law of attraction, you can call it. What is law of attraction is we attract, or anything that happens in our life is directly proportions or correlates with our emotions. If I'm very happy and jovial, all the experiences that are happening around me will be positive. If I'm going through stress and anxious, even if I'm anxious, that is still a negative emotion, and we're going to attract negative event. And looking back, I'm thinking that's why I had a lot of accidents, because I had like 4 accidents while rushing to work. It's kind of like, I cannot say this is religious, but it's also in the Bible, it's in the religion. But if somebody is a non-believer, if they know about the law of attraction, read a book, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, Australian, written, that was in 2000, was so popular. She's been interviewed by Oprah. The law of attraction is our life is a direct reflection of our emotions. If I'm feeling miserable, everything that I'm going to attract is that's miserable. The Woolworth staff going to be nasty, the boss going to be nasty, your colleague going to act up. It's not their problem, because my energetical state is negative. So that is the reality. So in self-heal sequence, when we are talking about healing anxiety, number 1 is being conscious about your emotional state. Like a lot of people get anxious or get angry with while driving. If somebody cuts you off, like their blood pressure going through the roof, like, why are you doing that? Because I don't get angry when somebody's cutting off, because I train my mind. I do get for different stuff, but not for that. Train myself so well that if somebody is driving ridiculously, I just take that as a joke. So my mind is accustomed to take that as a joke and laugh. So what I'm doing is I am negating that threat, and I'm reducing the cortisol production in my brain and increasing production of endorphin, serotonin, and dopamine, which are all healing hormones that are necessary to relieve from anxiety or even any other health conditions. And what does anxiety actually do? It's not only bring us a lot of negative experiences, but also it's drain our energy. Did you know, to go through the negative emotions, our body needs a massive amount of energy. It depletes vitamin D. Okay, if you go, your doctor says, okay, your vitamin D is low, that means you're stressing. So stress is nothing but bunch of negative emotion, which includes anxiety. It depletes vitamin D. Anxiety and stress depletes iron. You can see a lot of people are low in iron because they are stressing. It depletes B12. Okay, B12, B complex. These are all building material. These vitamins are necessary for our cell growth and also important to alleviate from stress. So it's kind of like snowballs, right? A lot of people, sometimes they eat very healthy food, but they still go ahead and create chronic conditions because the underlying problem may not be their diet and exercise. It is their mental status, is their stress, and then the associated events that are happening simply because of those negative state. So number 1 is be conscious about what's going on in your mind. Never ever leave your mind to run its course. We talk about keep a hold of your mind on a leash like a dog. You see, like if you don't have your dog on a leash, it'll go sniff there, sniff there, sniff there. It'll go everywhere. Our mind is like that. Make sure that you guide it where your mind wants to go, because your emotions are consequences of our thoughts. There are certain times we cannot control, but majority of the time it's our thoughts what creates our emotions. Now, then once you're aware, you are in control of changing your emotions. So sometimes you can change your thought now. Okay, now I forgive this driver. Okay, I have a money problem, but I'm going to leave it to God. So a lot of people say, okay, you believe in God and why all the suffering is in this world. I'm not here to justify all those things. I'm not going to argue about whether there's a God or not. That's not my job. My job is to whether this is working for me or not. So when I am praying, my emotions become hopeful. I can trust on something. Do you know a lot of people who don't have a belief or don't have a faith do face anxiety? Because they have nothing to hang on to. Like imagine middle of the night, you just waking up like 1:30, 2 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. Your mind is running a marathon, worrying about something. So you're actually creating anxiety in your physiology. And if this is thinking about the perceived threat, or what will happen to my health next week? What will happen to my child? Will I lose my job? Am I able to pay my bill? Is this person is going to tell me off, or am I going to get sacked from my job? Am I going to fail my subject? So these are all not actual yet. These are all perceived. But then think about if you had a faith, you had a God that you're going to pray, and I'm shifting this entire burden on somewhere else outside, that's your God. Right? So your mind is literally free, and that's when you create peace. That's why the Bible says hundreds and everywhere, so peace, peace, because some people don't understand what's all about peace, talking about peace. Peace is not about the Iran war stopping peace. Peace is about the inner harmony. Can you have a peace inside even the world around you is chaotic? And that's when you produce healing chemical. And sometimes if it is challenging, there are so many other ways. You can go do exercise. If you're anxious, the other easiest way, apart from our self-heal sequence, is just go to the gym, go to some activities. A lot of people say, oh, I don't like to go to the gym. Gym is not about your physical fitness. Of course, I tell my friends, gym, whatever you do is your physical fitness is a byproduct. But gym helps with your mental health, number one. Mental health. For anybody, I would encourage you go to gym if you're not active. If you're active, you're doing a lot of physical work, that's so fine if you feel fit. But if you stress all the time, you're suffering from anxiety, gym can easily alleviate and regulate your heart rate, reduce anxiety, because it helps produce production of endorphin, which is a healing hormone. And the other thing that you must do is eat dark green leafy vegetable. I thought, okay, I'm not going to talk about diet. That's not my thing. Of course, I do teach when it's come to my clients, but here it's all about mind work. But because we stress, we deplete B complex, iron deficiency, magnesium. We deplete magnesium when you go through stress. Have you heard about this from any of your doctors? Not going to tell you this. These are all neuroscience I'm telling you. Sometimes you in sun all the time, the doctor going to tell you your vitamin D deplete. I had vitamin D depleted. I thought I'm in the sun all the time. When you stress, your body uses up all these vitamins a lot more than it would if you were happy and jovial person. Dark green leafy vegetables, if you're a stress head or you're suffering from anxiety, a lot of people say, okay, yeah, I eat a little bit of broccoli and rocket leaves. Come on, there's no, whatever we find them. I mean, I always call supermarket Woolies in my temple. That's where the food come from. But they're not nutrient rich. They're all grew in the, in the fancy laboratory. So if you're eating, like you have to eat 10 times more than what you would usually eat. It has to be dark green, leafy vegetable, something that you grow at home, like the Indian spinach or broccoli, of course, baby spinach, kale. Kale is really good. And then you can reduce this anxiety just by doing other stuff than our self-healing tool, which is the mind work. So you thought, okay, this problem, I am not going to solve this problem just by thinking. I'm going to shift this problem into my God or to my ancestor or to the universe, whatever the belief that you have, and see what it does to your physiology, your heart rate. It has to be real. You cannot just say it and do it, because your spirit, your soul is listening to you. So you cannot trick your own spirit, because your spirit is, your body is the home for your spirit. And not only is a home for your soul, it's also a home for your God. Make sure that your God lives in your body, and see how easy it is to alleviate from anxiety. And so once you change your thought, your emotions will change, and followed by the words. Once your emotions, your thoughts are changing, your language will change automatically. Sometime if you find it so, okay, now I am finding it so difficult to change my thoughts, I am finding so difficult to change my emotion, guess what? You can change your words, and then it works ulta, the other way around. Just changing your word, which talk about everything in the Bible. You see what happens to your physiology. Once you change your word, then your emotions will change. Once your emotions change, then your thought patterns will change, and then your action change. This is so interesting. If you think it's easy, it's going to be easy. If you think it's a hard work, it's going to be a hard work. Either way, you are right. So what are you think? You think you can alleviate this anxiety? Some people, because I find it when I came to work, when I was working in Sydney, like everybody, like majority of the people, you have to walk fast, you have to be anxious, they think only then you're working hard. That's not true. The anxious person is less creative and less productive than a calm and happy person. See, when you're calm, when you're peaceful, and when you're happy, you become so creative. Your brain function at its full capacity, as opposed to anxious person. You have to do a lot of physical work to be able to catch up with the work if you are really happy and peaceful. So pay attention to that. So I thought, okay, they're all getting anxious. Maybe I have to go to work and, keep a serious face and then walk fast. I trained myself to walk so slow. And then people think, oh, there is the world tumbling next door. She walks so slowly. What's wrong with her? Nothing wrong with me. Something wrong with them. Don't worry about what the world is thinking about you. You do what you think is right. We've been talking all about anxiety and how to naturally heal from our body. We are almost towards the end of the show, so I'm going to give you some scripture stories followed by declaration. If you're not a Christian, if you don't follow any religion, I really want you to make your own way of doing this and see how this affects your DNA. You can literally rewire your genetic makeup just by this, similar to this kind of declarations. But in my opinion, I think Bible is the best scripture that you can use for similar declarations. First, the storm on the lake. The disciples were in a boat when a fierce storm rose up. The waves crashed over the sides. The water poured in. And these were experienced fishermen. Yet they were terrified, certain they were about to drown. And where was God in that moment? Asleep in the back of the boat. So they woke him, crying out, "Jesus, do you not care that we are perishing?" And Jesus stood up. He spoke to the wind and the waves, "Peace, be still." And the storm went flat as glass. Then he turned and asked, "Why are you so afraid?" Hear this. The storm was real, but so was his presence in the boat. Anxiety screams that you are alone and about to go under. Faith remembers who is in the boat with you, and that one word from him is enough to alleviate that anxiety. And another story from the scripture. Martha, worried and troubled about many things. They were two sisters, Martha and Mary. When God came to visit, Martha threw herself into the preparations, rushing, serving, doing, while her sister Mary simply sat at Jesus' feet and listened to him speak. We often have one family member who always running around doing stuff to make sure that everything is perfect, but that's not the case. And Martha grew overwhelmed and she complained, and the answer she received is one of the gentlest lines in all of scripture. Jesus said, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and anxious about many things, but only one thing is needed." Hear this. Anxiety multiplies in piles the many things on top of you until you cannot breathe. And the invitation is to come back to the one thing, to sit down, to be present, to stop spinning. Peace is found not in doing more, but in choosing the one thing that gives you peace. God, you told me through your servant Paul that you are the Lord of peace himself, and that you would give me peace at all times and in every way. So I bring you the racing heart, the tight chest, the mind that will not rest. And God speaks back. The Lord says, "I am the Lord of peace, and my peace is not what the world hands out and takes back. I give it at all times, in the morning when you wake afraid, in the night when the worry comes, in every way and in every season. I am your peace." God, you told me in the Psalms to cast my cares on you, and that you would sustain me, that you would never let the righteous be shaken. So I am casting in now. I am casting it now. Every worry, every fear, every weight I have carried alone. And God speaks back, and Lord says, "Give it to me and watch what I hold. I did not make your shoulders to carry what I carry so easily. Cast it and I will sustain you. You will not be shaken, because the one holding you cannot be moved." The enemy has prowled around me like a roaring lion, roaring fear into my nights, roaring dread into my days. But you told me to be alert and to stand. A rover is not a bite. The lion roars to freeze you, to make you forget who stand beside you. But greater is the one who is in you, that the one who roars around than the one roars around you. Stand, my son, my daughter. Answer the rover with my word and watch it flee. Without God, it can be really challenging for us to self-heal or even change our emotions to positive.
Amutha Kan, the power flows, a seed of peace within you grows. The pharmacy of soul and mind, leaving every fear behind. Every cell begins to sing to the balance that you bring.